let's bring back to the screen the most sought after glasses in the conference. My buddy and high school bud and dear friend, Stephen, the rock star Baer. Here he is. Look at you, man. And it's Stephen, before this, you should know he shaved a mustache that I've never seen before. And I'm hoping by next conference, he's going to bring back that mustache.
It will come back. It was a handlebar mustache. It just wasn't. Yeah, no, it was. I'll post a picture or something.
I love you, buddy. Talk to you later.
Love you too. Well, thanks again for listening to me. No one else does in my house, so this is good. I wanted to talk a little more about games, and particularly I want to talk about custom games and thinking about what goes into the creation of custom games. I think probably a lot of what we've been talking about today has been the training arcade, turnkey solutions, and we'll touch upon that really briefly. But beyond that, I want to then talk about, if you're going to build something custom, what should you be thinking about? So for this talk, we're going to talk about 3 different paths to gamifying your training. We're going to talk about 8 custom game design considerations. This is the meat of the talk. We're going to talk about timelines and budgets, and then we're going to talk about measuring success. And if anyone heard me talk the last time, certainly measurement and analytics is really important to me, and hopefully it is to you as well, because that's not just knowing that it's fun, but knowing that it's working. Okay, so moving on. When we talk about the 3 paths, we talk about the DIY games. So that is the training arcade games that you can build yourself. We talk about our gamification platform, that is arcades, where you can really not just have games, but a whole gamified learner experience. And then we talk about custom games. We're going to go through each of these. Now, I think you guys have heard a lot, hopefully today. And if you're just joining us for the first time now, you'll miss some good stuff, but please watch some of the videos. When it comes to the DIY games, the reality is you can build so many of these games, as Jake and and Jamie and Katie were talking about, very, very easily. And when I say easily, I mean in an hour or less. You have multiple games, multiple question types, multiple languages. It plugs right into learning management systems. You have the ability to turn on or off multiple components. And when it comes to publishing, you can put it right into any of your course authoring tools. You can put it into your LMS as a SCORMER API, XAPI file, or you can even do an embed code. And so there's 10 different games that we offer today through the training arcade that you can turn on easily. Then if you're looking for something that's more of a gamification layer, where you have people not just playing on their own, but they're, going head to head against others, or playing as teams, or they're getting points and badges and leaderboards for other things like missions and journeys and tasks, and coming back with different, spin and wins and getting prizing. You can layer all that in with arcades. But the part that we're going to talk about right now is building custom games. And I don't think we've really covered very much on that today. So this is a great time. Please buckle in, because this is a lot of fun. When I think about building a custom game, there are 8 components that I really look at, overall. The first thing is I really think about what the learning objectives are, right? So I think we're all familiar with this, this image here, and really thinking about, do I want someone to remember something or understand something, apply, analyze, evaluate, create? What am I trying to get them to do? And, that is the first question that we need to ask ourselves, because ultimately that's going to determine what we're going to build. So we'll start there. Once we understand what we want them to do, I think we also need to figure out what's going to motivate them through gameplay to actually do it, to stick with it, to learn about it, to be interested in the reinforcement of it, and to really test against it, right? So we talked about this a little earlier today. The reality is that gamers, learners, people come in all shapes and sizes, right? You have your achievers, you have your explorers, your socializers, your fighters. And what does that actually mean? That means that, some people care just about being really getting better and being good at what they're doing, right? Some people are really interested in solving different things or discovering certain things. Some people are more interested in the social experience, feeling like they're useful to others or being recognized for what they're doing. And some people, they just want to win, right? And that's important. And you want to make sure that your games, as you're designing it, and quite honestly, your gamified experience overall speaks to the motivations of all of your learners. Okay. Now you've determined what you want them to be able to be better at. You determine who you're appealing to and trying to think about all the things that are going to be triggers for those people. The next thing I would think about is, what's the story arc? You want to think about what is going to be a compelling story, something that's going to be memorable, something that the people are going to be able to relate to. And those two things are really related to each other, right? At the end of the day, if someone can relate to a situation, they're going to be able to remember it. So that's the first thing, is thinking, what's the overall story arc? And then thinking about how you're going to write something. And I have these two charts here because this is about the level of interaction that you have with the learner. Now, I'm specifically showing you a visual that is a branching path, but quite honestly, you'd come up with a chart like this as it pertains to any type of game. How much do you want to push information to them? How much do you want them to be able to engage with your information? At what points do you want them to be able to make decisions? How frequently do you want to make them decisions? And how much do you want to push them down a certain linear path? And so this is really important, and it's a balancing act here, because one is it's important to give them the opportunity to explore and learn and try and fail so they can ultimately succeed. But you also want to put little guardrails on there. You want to make sure that there is a limit to what they can do and how far off they can go, because if they go too far off, it may be hard for them to get back and ultimately to learn. The next thing is thinking about character design. Who are you having them engage with? What is that character? What's the personas of those characters? How do they relate to situations potentially in your office, in your environment, and with your material? And then once you've determined that, what do the characters even look like? Now, here I have a whole bunch of illustrated characters. Maybe you're going to do everything video based, and that's great too. But you want to think about what is going to be most realistic and most appropriate for that audience and that content, and something that they'll be able to relate to and to remember. Okay. Next thing, environment design. Thinking about, and these all tie to each other from a visual standpoint. You want to make sure that your character design and your environment design are in sync. So what's that ultimately look like? And thinking about what's going to appeal not only around the content, but to your culture, to your audience. And this is really important to consider up front. Now, one of the things we do often is we'll do these mood boards. When we are thinking about the content, we'll build out these mood boards. We'll try to think about one, what speaks to the content, but two, what speaks to the culture and to the learners, and make sure that it really feels appropriate. And we'll work with our clients on doing that. And quite honestly, if you're doing this in-house, I encourage you to do that too. It's not like one design style is the way to go. You want to explore a few different ones to see, what makes the most sense. Now, we've talked about, what the story arc is going to be. We've talked about what the visuals are going to be. We've talked about what the environment's going to be. But these are the things that people don't often think about: is audio design, voiceovers, music, sound effects. These are the things that are the little bells and whistles that make a really big difference when it comes to games. And so you want to think about what is going to keep someone vested in this environment, what's going to make them have excitement or anticipation or fear or concern or anything else. And audio is really critical when it comes to accomplishing that. So the neat thing is that you can do everything extremely custom with audio, and I mean all audio is custom, but you can also buy a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stock audio files. There's also tools like Fiverr where you can hire someone anywhere around the world to record stuff for you. There's we were just playing around with a really neat tool the other day that allows you to record your audio into it and then manipulate what the voice is, and it's quite amazing. I'll find it and put it in the chat here. So there's a lot of amazing stuff that you can do. Next is thinking about so we know what the story is, we know what the characters look like, we know what the sound is, but we then thinking about how we're going to bring that to life. And that's where animation and video and coding really come together. And so I have a bunch of things here that I'm showing you, anywhere from, the Adobe Premiere suite down to, Powtoon or beyond. Then thinking about, how you take video and maybe apply it in something like Scenario VR, which we haven't talked about a lot today, but Scenario VR, which is another tool under the eLearning Brothers umbrella, is an amazing tool. And actually, I will show you something if time allows, show how you can really bring your content to life there. And then thinking about what other tool sets you might use to build your game out, right? So we use the Unreal Engine, we use Unity, we use Phaser, and sometimes we're just building, raw JavaScript and building our own stuff. So anyway, lots of options, and these are all factors as you're thinking about creating your own game. The last thing I think about is where you're going to deploy this game. And so, this goes back to something Jake was talking about. There's obviously traditional e-learning or m-learning, but there's also the virtual learning experience, and what's that going to look like? And is that a collaborative experience? Is that still an individual experience, just, playing in parallel with each other? And then there's instructor-led, live instructor-led. And maybe you want to design something that really can, work for all of these. So I'm throwing a lot at you, but these are all things that you want to think about as you're designing custom work, custom games. So one of the things that we get asked all the time, and this is a really hard question to answer, but is, can you talk to me about timelines and budgets? Well, for us, there are about 4 main elements that go into determining that. There's seat time. There's the type of game design. What's that ultimate experience? A lot of what we just went through, the visual and audio design, and then the customization of technologies. And that last bucket, I want to kind of hit on for just a second, because the customization of technologies can go one of 2 ways. You can either say, you know what, I'm going to leverage a turnkey solution. I'm going to leverage something like the Training Arcade or Scenario VR, something that already exists. And then there's a licensing fee for that. And by the way, the neat thing is you may not need to customize anything. You might be able to just put your questions in and put your content in, and it costs you nothing because you can do it yourself and you can do it in hours. Something like that may take a day, might take a month, but not much more than that. And that's what's beautiful about that. There are really some amazing solutions that we offer and that are in the marketplace outside of eLearning Brothers as well that allow you to do that. When it comes to something that's truly custom, now this is something that may be closer to $25,000 at the low end, up to maybe $500,000 to build something that's truly custom. And something like that is going to take between 3 and 9 months or so to complete. Now, when you think about both these situations, the first one, the turnkey solution, is something you can do yourself. You can build it yourself in a day. On the right-hand side, that's going to be a team. That's going to be a team of an instructional designer, a visual designer, a software developer, a game designer, and more, right? We have some projects we're working on that have teams of 15, 20 people working on it for 6-9 months long. So hopefully those parameters are helpful. The last thing I'm going to touch upon, and we can either go to questions or I can show you one example in Scenario VR, because we haven't really touched upon that today, is measurement. And I know that this has been talked about a little bit today, but I want to just hit upon it one more time. And what's amazing about games is that you can certainly measure the knowledge, you can certainly measure the skill development and how people can apply it, especially once you're using XAPI data. You can track the decision-making process, the individual choices, the tendencies, the risk tolerance. And this is what gets into a question that we heard earlier today about personas. And I love that you can really build amazing personas off of gameplay data. And the last thing is tracking accuracy, effectiveness, efficiency of the learner, the performer, observing the performance, and then taking all that data and coaching them accordingly. So there's so much you can do here. Jen, I have one thing I was going to show, a video for Scenario VR, or we can go to questions. You tell me what you'd like me to do.
I think you can show it. You're good. Okay.
So I'm going to just jump into this. This is a neat example of something that we just finished with It Cosmetics, a brand over at L'Oreal. And I want to show you, we took the Scenario VR environment and we built out a whole robust experience that's custom for them. And just take a look.
Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Journey Digital Experience, and welcome to Train the Trainer 2021. This is the year we renovate and restore, but I'll talk a little bit more about that at the meeting. I am so excited for you to experience this incredible platform and learn so many cool things. First, I want to take you to the makeup section. Welcome to the makeup section. I'm so excited for you to spend some time in here and get a little bit of creativity going on. Welcome to the skincare section. I'm so excited for you to experience and learn all the cool things we have when it comes to skincare. If you have a problem, we want to be the brand that solves it, and that is going to be our bye-bye room. I'm excited for you to go into each of these rooms, learn some cool stuff, and go back to create trainings that will inspire all of your people. There's one other room that is really important to me, and that is the restore room. The last couple years, and also all the things that have changed for us, have been a little exhausting. So this room, my hope is that you go in and there's some really cool experiences that will help to relax you, to inspire you, and I can't wait for you to spend some time in there.
Now, the reason I wanted to show you this is we built this environment using Scenario VR in a matter of weeks. We built all the training content. It's a whole bunch of video training modules, little games, little activities. And that is something that gets really exciting, right? Is that you're taking a turnkey solution, you're doing some video production, you're taking off-the-shelf games, you're doing a green screen recording of our client and stapling together the whole narrative. And it plays really nicely. And what we've seen is we've built a lot of projects like this as pre-meeting assets, which is great because it really gives them the opportunity to engage with the content, understand what's coming up, get excited about stuff, so on and so forth. I'm going to show you one more example, and then we can move over to some Q&A. This last example I'm going to show is for MassMutual. MassMutual, we do a lot of not just professional development, but we also do a lot of educational games as well. So I'll kind of show you what we built out for them. I'll walk you through it as we do. This is targeting middle school students, but this is using a scenario-based branching path concept. It's not using our game from the training arcade. It's all custom built, but the goal here is to teach financial literacy to students, right? And what better way to do that than to have them actually manage a whole bunch of real life situations. So you play the mayor of Happy Town, very age appropriate for this middle school audience. And you have to basically go through a whole bunch of different simulations. You're going to do things like, run a business. You're going to, work with students who are trying to get their first job, but you're working with the elderly who are trying to retire, and really understanding that here's an example of, a financial literacy blueprint that you're going to put together. You're going to have questions throughout the, experience to see if you're keeping up with your goals. And then we also built a parallel app that's available on the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store that allows you to, basically simulate these same experiences, but in quick format. So this is a really neat way for not only students to be able to do it, but them to do it with their parents or with their families. Anyway, I show you this because this is the type of thinking that we do when we think about custom content. It's thinking about, one, what are we trying to teach them? Two, who's the audience and what's going to motivate them? Three, what's the visuals going to look like? What's the story arc need to be? And what type of technologies can we use to really bring it to life? There's so many ways you can go with custom content, and I kind of encourage you to ask all those 8 questions that I posed in this presentation earlier. So why don't we stop there, and we can take some questions.
Hi. We actually, yes, we do have a few. Hold on 1 minute. They're coming in. Can you share the link to the financial literacy app?
Yes, I'll do it when I'm not sharing my screen or
Okay.
Anyone's able to grab it from our team.
Right after.
Yep.
So this is an interesting one. Liv asks, what games are well suited to Bloom's create level?
Oh, that's a really good question. So let's go back to Bloom's taxonomy. There we go. So, the create one is probably the toughest one to map a game against. And I to me, I think that probably the types of games that I would think about, I would say that I would build a bigger simulation against create, right? I don't know that I could take any of the off-the-shelf games that we have in the training arcade and say that holistically that could address that, right? I think that you need to tell a storyline. I think that you need to probably include a bunch of mini activities and games to really set someone in the course of the create. It's a really good question, and that's and I'd say that it gets progressively more difficult to use games as you get higher and higher into the Bloom's taxonomy.
Okay. Christopher wants to know, which gaming engine do you feel gives more flexibility? Sorry, that's my reminders. More flexibility in design and delivery, Unity or Unreal?
Oh, it's a good question. So I think they're both really strong tools. I'd say that I like Unity because I feel like it's a little bit more user friendly. I feel like, they both require obviously a decent amount of skill set, but I feel like Unity is a little more user friendly and is pretty darn flexible. And the other thing that we've done is we have done some layers into Unity, even with things like the training arcade and to other custom platforms that we've done to other integrations into Unity. That said, we're actually right now we're doing some really neat stuff with Scenario VR and Unreal for another client, and they both are fairly flexible. I mean, they both offer a lot of options. So I didn't really answer your question. I like them both.
There also was a question about a voice app, but I think
I will find that and post that right in here afterwards. It's actually really cool app. And I'm actually talking to their CEO tomorrow, so I just need to. I should probably know what their name is. But
David G mentions well said. Could it be that?
Say again, Jen.
Well said voices.
No, you know what? Let me stop sharing and I'll look it up right now. So it's give me 2 seconds. It is Stornoway. Here, I will put it in here. If you have some time and you want to play with some cool technology, I would check this out. Stornoway.io. And we're using them for a client project right now, and I was really blown away with how good it is. Basically, all you need to do is just put your intonations in there and what you want to say, and you can come out, sounding like a very different person with a very different accent, and it's really good AI. I was really pleased with it. There may be other, products that are just as good, but this is one we've been playing around with recently.
Okay, I think that's it, unless somebody wants to add. Wait. Laura, I think, wants to know the name of the one you just. Can you just paste it? I think so.
Yep, I sure can. Here you go. This is Stornoway.
Stornoway.io. Okay. I think that's it.
Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for having me. And
Stephen, before you go away.
Yeah.
Before you go away. I know you're like, what are we doing here, Mark? You're ruining all my secrets. We have just a couple minutes, and I want to play How Well Do You Know Your Speaker really quickly. So the person who gets this right will get some ELB swag. Some of you may know by now that Stephen and I went to high school together. Stephen was the senior class. He directed the senior class play. And actually, that was the first time I was ever on stage. If you can guess the senior class play that Stephen Baer directed me in the chat box, go ahead. You're going to get...
Oh, some good guesses.
This is crazy.
They're all wrong, but
they're all wrong.
Here, I'll give you. Can I give a hint?
Yes, please. Of course, it's
Okay.
unfortunate. None of these people.
Okay, there's a big boat.
Big boat.
There's
Oh man.
it's not Love Boat. No, you're wrong. It's not Showboat either.
You're the top.
You're the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't know. That's all. Yes,
Good job, Deb. Good job.
Nice work, Susan.
Anything
We'll give it
goes.
to you too. Yes, that
Steven,
was.
can you tap dance?
I can, but I only do that on Thursdays. Sorry.
He's tap dancing right now. You just can't tell.
Yeah, under the desk. It's amazing.
It's true, man. Yeah, that was the time. My first case that I needed to improvise. Remember when one of our partners mixed his cue and said, "Hey, Mark, go out and say these lines." And I went out and said, "Hey, you're arrested." And then the actor said, "Why?" And then I just went off and improvised an entire scene. And then we came back during intermission, and Steven said, as the director, "Well, great first half. Looks like we got to write the first half of the second half to fix Mark's ad lib." Oh man.
Look, not everything can go as planned, and that's okay. That's good.
That's right.
That's performance. That's training. That's parenting. Whatever.
Way to bring it back, Steven.
Way to bring it way back. Well, I appreciate you, Stephen Baer, and we thank you. And we're gonna get cooking here to the next presenters.